Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another morning coffee talks. It's Tuesday. Um, Good start so far of the week. I'm back to work today, and man, I had a great video that I did last night as far as the topic on why men aren't approaching women anymore. And I did an earlier video kind of touching on it. Then later I did a response video. But inside of that topic, one of the things that popped up is a point of what men prefer when it comes to approaching women and why they're not approaching women, right? And one of the preferred things was that men. Well, let me say this, right? I think women have made it very clear on why they prefer certain things from men, right? Part of it is attractiveness. Part of it is a situation of understanding that that person is going to protect, right? So it's like when you hear, women say, hey, I prefer a man that's over 6 feet tall. I prefer this man to have this type of body shape, when it comes to the way they look like they can protect, right? I prefer them to be in this type of career or make this type of money because they can provide, right? And so on the flip side, and it's plenty more on the list, right? When it comes to women, but hey, they have what they prefer, and I think a lot of it comes from just a natural instinct, right? Now on the flip side, I think, man, we have said what we like, right? But we haven't said what we preferred, and a preference is we can like a lot of things. We can like a woman's dress, right? We can like the way her nails are done, her hair is done. But when it comes to preference and what we prefer, those lean more into um, almost damn near needs, right? um, and I think that just how I articulated as far as a deeper point with the women when it comes to the providing and protecting, a man he want a woman who respects masculinity, right? Who we prefer women that had fathers in their home growing up. And even this conversation, it was something I leaned into and had with my wife last night. And it was interesting, right? It kind of helped me solidify why it's important. One of the bullet points on why I married her. Keep it a buck. She has a father in her house, in her life, and grew up with her father, right? And so, I think that man overall, we notice a difference, right? We notice a big difference when a woman had a strong, present father growing up, and it often shows up in how she moves, how she loves, and how she respects a man. And today, I really want to dive deep and kind of break down why so many men lean towards marrying women who grew up with fathers in their home, right? And one of the points, there's a few points I want to make. Again, one of the points is early exposure to masculine energy and structure, right? So women who had their dad in their home, right, often experience leadership. They often experience boundaries and this emotional regulation early. They've seen firsthand how a man shows up, good or bad, right? And they typically don't carry as much mystery or like resentment when it comes to masculinity. And also, I feel that men are they feel less likely to have to like quote unquote like teach or overcompensate for what was missing when it comes to that. So like kind of the conversation that I had with my wife was that women earlier learned so many nuances from living with a man, understanding like how to move when it comes to even the space around men. We take up a certain type of space, right? We move in a certain energy, and I think that it's good to see also, hey, what's that relationship? Let's say it's a great relationship, right? how to really see how a man would show up in a home, how to, maintain his family, how to provide for his family, how to love his family, how to love his wife, how to love his kids. Subconsciously, they see that, right? And also, hey, everything's not perfect. They also see the bad, and they're like, "Whoa, I've seen how men on the other side where it's really negative as well. Hey, I don't want that. I've seen that." But on the flip side, they may say, "Hey, I do want that. I've seen the great stuff that how a man can show up and stuff like that." So it's just very good that they learn lessons early, and also a lot of them get conversations early, right? Good or bad, how to deal with boys, right? If they are heartbroken, a man can fill the gap early versus them feeling like they had to kind of rebound or move themselves around trying to find a certain love versus learning the lesson in that when it comes to early heartbreak and stuff, right? So that's kind of the whole thing about being exposed to that male energy early and that father. So also, you know, respect for male authority for them isn't foreign, right? If a father is present and healthy, I feel like that woman would learn how to challenge and support a man without trying to control him. We know, this is what I said to my wife. We know that there are women out there who want to fix a man, right? Quote unquote, build a man, like build a bear, right? A lot of them like to do that, right? And so, and that's a control thing. But earlier, I feel like even when it comes to listen, there are some women who don't even respect their boss. They don't. And it's just a deeper part of the whole stratosphere of the new age woman. And again, I think it's great that, women are in their own careers and they're making their own money. But a lot of them came from single mother households, and they didn't have those lessons on how to work with men, right? On how to respect male authority, right? I think everybody should be respected, but for some reason, when you miss that and it's like, I call them new money, right? It's like when you never had money and you finally get money, a lot of times people get an ego. Um, they think they're better than you because, or more successful just because they got more money, right? And so that carries over into their career. And so um, it's important that they learn early how to respect that male authority. So that way it carries them throughout life and they can move better, right? Men often say they feel more respected, um, less combated, and more like a partner than a project when, women grew up with their father. Because again, you just learn so many lessons early. And a lot of times you see these lessons through actions, not only just words, right? And they just seem more cooperative, not just this independent mind state of, hey, I don't need a man. I don't want a man. Oh, I'm better than a man. You see what I'm saying? That mentality is not there. Or let me not say it's not there, right? I just think it's more balanced, right? Because like I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Most men who are on their job, they don't need a woman either. Like we can hire somebody to come clean our house. We can hire someone to cook for us. We can hire somebody to wash our clothes, wash our cars. Like technically, we don't need a woman in that aspect as far as that role a lot of them play when it comes to being in a household, right? Um, and so it's just important that a lot of us have known this already, but we want a woman, right? We want to be able to have someone there to be able to share life with, help build a family with, right? Because we know that's the point, we do need a woman when it comes to, hey, do we want to extend our lifeline? Do we want to extend our legacy? So I think it's just important that on some level we do both need each other on some aspect, but a man technically don't need a woman on an everyday basis when it comes to that. So a lot of women now feel like, hey, I don't need a man. I can make my own money. I can create my own household, going forward. And it's absolutely true. A lot of them don't need us in that aspect. But I think because it's so new to them, and when I say new to them, listen, men have had this from day one, right? In life, women, especially in America, have came up on the rise. And again, which is great, right? There's nothing wrong with anybody being more successful. However, it's like they just starting to smell themselves. It's like a teenager finally coming to a point where they actually starting to click, they starting to understand things. And I'm not calling women a child, but what I am saying is their success is very new to them. And I think it'll get to a point where it starts to balance out. And everything starts to, get to a good stable point. But last point I want to say is the emotional stability and trust building of having that father in the home is very important, right? It helps develop that trust in man leadership. It helps develop that trust in male love, and how to discern and have discernment with, being around a man. And again, I think a lot of them, when it comes to that emotional stability, a lot of them have seen men mad early, angry early, right? Sad early. They've seen a few of those emotions from men. And I think that the ones without it, who never seen the male emotions, good or bad, right? When they get later in life, they don't understand, right? And trust me, a lot of men don't understand their emotions, and we talked about emotional intelligence as well in a few of my videos. But a lot of women, they never see that early, right? And so they don't understand it, they don't trust it, and it doesn't help them emotionally regulate as well. They may not assume the worst in man or expect them to fail. Um, but I think it creates at least a baseline for the woman when she shows up to be in a relationship with a man, right? She don't just assume the worst, or expect them to fail. It's easier for her to allow love in rather than test or sabotage it, right? I think it's a situation where she's not seeking father-like approval from her romantic partners. You know what I mean? And a lot of women do. They date. Oh, and this has been from the beginning of the time, right? Younger women dating older men. But I think that many of them do look for father-like figures, right, in their partners romantically. And I think that if they had fathers, I don't think that'd be the mindset shift. I think instead of being like a father-like partner, it'd be just a life partner, just because they've already had a father in their life or do have their father in their life. It's just a difference between loving a man and needing one that fills a father's wound or a father's emptiness, or without the father, right? That distinction can make the relationship healthier and less emotionally explosive, man. And we've seen over and over. Again, I try to make sure I don't always generalize, but the ones who are the loudest in the room, the ones that's being influential, right? The ones who are speaking up, those are the ones who are most emotionally irregulated, and they the most explosive when it comes to just speaking on a topic on, oh, I don't need a man, man ain't this, man ain't that. And I think most of them just don't know what healthy love looks like because they never seen it earlier in a two-parent household or a home with a man as well. I feel that my last thing I say on this is I feel that if women saw love between their parents early, they often come into a relationship with the blueprint, not just survival skills, on what that relationship looks like, right? She's just not in a place where she's just reacting in a relationship, but she's relating. And that's very important. And so I just feel like, listen, women prefer what they first. So this isn't about judgment, right? But we as men, we have to get to a point where we have our preferences as well. And it's just important to dive deeper and dig deeper that, and also know this. Again, this is a preference for us, right? But we have to understand a good woman can come from any background, right? If they're willing to do the work, they're willing to put that time in to learn the power of their femininity, right? But we also have to acknowledge the reality that growing up with a healthy father figure usually gives them a head start and understand masculine love, structure, and leadership. So, if you've dated both, I think you'll understand the difference. And I have. I've dated the women who came up with fathers and who didn't. And I just think that my wife, she grew up with her father. But I think also if a man's raising daughters now, I think that part of what you're doing is shaping how they'll love later, right? So, yeah, that was a lot, but I'm glad we kind of dove a little deeper into that. But drop a comment below. Tell me what y'all think about this message today. And do you agree or disagree? Subscribe to the Husband Code if it's your first time. If you've been watching for a while, subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell so you don't miss videos like this, and hit that thumbs up if you got any value out of this video. But until next time, I appreciate y'all. Much love. Peace.